This is not clickbait. And frankly, I am surprised more people aren't talking about this right now. But this is not only going to change Pokemon forever, this is going to change collecting in general forever. A good friend of mine, Joe, shared this article with me a few days ago. Pat Ryan, born and raised 30 minutes from where I grew up, in simple terms, is asking the FTC to investigate Collectors Holdings, which is the parent company behind PSA, SGC, and now potentially Beckett. If you haven't heard, I think it was last week, Collectors Holdings bought BGS, Beckett. The claim is from Congressman Pat Ryan to the chair of the Federal Trade Commission. You can see his letter here on the screen and his website where that letter can be found. I'm not making this up. The claim is that Collectors Holdings is systematically buying competitors to eliminate competition in the card grading market. And Pokemon is right at the center of this. Before we go any further, this is important. In Pokemon, grading is a huge part of the market. A single grade point can mean hundreds, thousands of dollars difference in that card's value. Grading decides not only value, but the liquidity, the trust in the market, price discovery. There's a lot of stuff involved with that. So when one company controls most of the grading, they're not just a service provider, they're market infrastructure. And that's exactly what this letter is warning about. According to the letter, PSA controls roughly 72% of the graded card volume. SGC is around 8%, and Beckett is about 3%. If Collectors owns all three, that's over 80% of the entire grading market under one corporate umbrella. That leaves CGC as the only real major independent competitor at roughly 17%. So instead of competition pushing innovation and pricing and consistency with grading and turnaround times, you'd effectively have one company controlling grading standards across the hobby. And yeah, maybe the labels will look different, but it's still going to be one company. That's the first big red flag. So when Collectors bought SGC, they publicly promised independence, separate operations, no interference. But shortly after that acquisition, SGC leadership left. Resources were redirected towards PSA, and SGC's grading volume dropped by over 60% in just 2 months. The accusation is that this is a pattern. 1, buy competitor. 2, promise independence. 3, absorb talent and volume. 4, remove competitive pressure. And now the concern is that Beckett could be next. It looks like they are. Here's where this gets uncomfortable. The company doesn't just grade cards. They also control pricing data through Card Ladder, participate in buying and selling through graded cards. They control population data, turnaround times, grading standards. That means one company could influence grades, influence pop reports, influence pricing data, and then profit from buying and selling those same cards. This letter even references the recent allegations where PSA allegedly purchased PSA 9 cards, regraded them, and resold them as PSA 10s. Dan from Catch 'em All Collectibles was talking about this a couple days ago, and I told him, I said it in the comments, there's no way PSA would do that. But I'm a little skeptical. Seems like there's a lot of money on the table, and it wouldn't be hard for them to do. And the more I hear about this, the more it seems likely. Who knows? So even if that was an isolated incident, the opportunity for abuse still exists. And that matters for Pokemon collectors, matters for all collectors. So what does this mean for Pokemon? Here's the real world implications. One, less competition will result in higher costs. Without competition, grading prices will likely rise, turnaround times will likely get worse, and customer service tends to decline. They know we'll have nowhere else to go. Grading trust becomes a bigger question. If one company effectively controls grading standards, what does a PSA 10 really mean long term? Are standards drifting to protect PSA's internal inventory? And are pop reports truly neutral? 3, smaller shops will get squeezed out. Local card shops, dealers, auction houses, they rely on fair grading access. If one company controls access to that pipeline, it affects margins, inventory decisions, and who survives in the hobby. Essentially, PSA collectors would be able to control who got pens. And then 4, new grading companies can't compete. According to this letter, collectors controls most of the professional grading labor pool. That makes it nearly impossible for new independent graders to scale, even if they're better. This isn't just about Pokemon. This letter cites Section 7 of the Clayton Act and Section 5 of the FTC Act, and recent FTC policy stating that serial acquisitions can be illegal even if no single deal crosses the line. The concern is that delay equals permanent damage. Once competitors are dismantled, you can't just rebuild them. If CGC gets destroyed and this gets overturned, it's too late. Why does this matter? It doesn't really matter where you stand on PSA or CGC or Beckett or Tag or any of the companies. This letter confirms something many collectors have felt for a long time. I know I have. Grading has become too powerful to kind of be left unregulated. As much as it pains me to say that, it's true. This isn't anti-PSA. This isn't anti-grading. This is about protecting competition, trust, and fairness in a hobby that's now a multi-billion-dollar asset market. If the FTC steps in, this could reshape grading forever. And if they don't, the Pokemon hobby may be heading towards the future with less choice, less transparency, and way more centralized control, essentially a monopoly. So let me know in the comments. Do you think this investigation goes anywhere? Should grading companies be broken up? Or is this just the cost of a growing hobby? I don't think so. If you found this helpful, please hit the like, subscribe. I'll keep covering any news that comes up on this. We're still doing the 100 ticket giveaway, so leave a comment with your favorite emoji. I'm going to try to do this every week. Funniest comment, funniest emoji will get a free raffle ticket for the giveaway. And when we hit 100 entries, we're going to give away Mega Evolutions ETB. I guess that's it. Kind of crazy. Hopefully I hear some more about this soon. Reach out if you have any questions. I'm always available to chat. And thanks for coming. I'll see you on the next one.